Now, this is not going to be a really long show because I want to wind down for the night. I was watching something interesting about this Canadian psychologist who's being stripped of his free speech. And it's kind of a long and dragged out story, but I'll try to condense it as best I can. And how does it pertain to us here on YouTube or any around the world, actually? It's trying to get him to relearn his thoughts to follow their thoughts. He had relinquished some free speech about certain matters, and the guy's being shot down for it, threatening to take his license away in Canada. And they're losing a lot of freedoms in Canada. There's a lot of people supporting the guy. And the college that he comes from or represents are trying to oust him out. Political leaders are trying to put a gag on him as far as him expressing his certain freedoms that's granted even in Canada. But this is happening all over the world. It's happening in the United States. Now, freedom of speech on you, it's a long story, but it's this guy's pretty good, a very learned guy, a very good professional psychologist, revered, that to try to put a gag order on, that he can't say certain things. As long as it doesn't harm anybody, he can say whatever he wants. Now, as it pertains to YouTube, no, there isn't exactly freedom of speech on YouTube. You could say a lot of things on here, but you can't put a gag order on anybody. But like this psychologist in Canada, what they're trying to do to him, you could have freedom of speech to any given point until it harms, defames, deprives somebody of their own rights, dignity, and so forth. Now, on YouTube, you don't have full freedom because the spoken word, visually and audibly, could do a lot of harm to people. Contrary to some nutcases believe, you can't go around calling an innocent person a child predator, because not only can you be killed for that, you'll be prosecuted for that, as somebody is going to be. We know who that is. You can't say what you want on here. Now, cowards try to do that. They all think they're not going to be caught because they hide behind their camera or their keyboard, that there's no ways that somebody could track them down, but there is. You just got to spend a couple of bucks to do it. But this Canadian psychologist who's going through hell, and I should have wrote down and put a link on this because it's a very interesting story. Well, they're taking away his freedom of speech. It's a very complicated situation. He's going to comply with the government. They're going to take his license away. All his pedigree gone. He would have to open up a new profession, perhaps in Florida, in America, Canada. Born and raised he was. His own government is trying to stifle him. Now, I don't know all the details of what he had said or what went on, but my understanding of what he did have to say does represent his freedom of speech. And unfortunately, this is being taken away from all of us, around the world. It ain't just Canada. It's the United States. It's even here in the Philippines. Many people, they put shows together, for example, and they think they could just get it by say about anything they can. But then they find out later on that they can't. Something winds up happening to them. They get attacked, killed, maimed, or imprisoned. You can't just say anything about anybody on here. You just can't. There are ramifications and repercussions to everything you do on YouTube, as it also pertains to outside of YouTube. It's not a funny game going on here in this world. I'll tell you that right now. Everybody's trying to take the rights of freedom of speech. We do have the rights of freedom of speech, and we should all, but there are limitations like anything else in life. You can't try to ruin somebody's good reputation because you don't like them. That doesn't apply to you. That's not part of freedom of speech. That's a personal vindication against somebody else taken too far. And then somebody suffers from that, the person that you're attacking, but then you yourself might wind up in a very bad position. Oh, yeah. I read about all this stuff all the time. I don't read just about health issues. I see what's going on in the world, freedom of speech, and we don't have a lot of freedom of speech. We don't. But remember, with everything, there are limitations in the world. You could have freedom of speech as long as it does not harm, defame, deform, degrade another human unnecessarily and unwarranted. Someone's words could put somebody in jail. An innocent person could go to jail because of somebody's words. Go to court for a case. You can say anything you want about somebody. Say anything you want. It's whether the judge believes. Don't show up for court. Guess what? They get their way. Because, you're like 8,000 miles away and you can't make it. But you do make the effort to go on camera and they won't accept it. That's against my freedom and rights. They do accept Zoom. Talking about pre-arrangements and all that's bullshit. As far as I'm concerned, I was in that courtroom. However, judgment based on default. It's a corrupt system. That's what it is. Now, this psychologist guy, a very revered guy in Canada, is being gagged. He's being told that he cannot say certain things. But Canada, promotes the thought that we do have freedom of speech in Canada. We don't interfere with anybody's freedom of speech. Boy, is that far from the truth, from what I've been reading from this guy. Try to find that show sometime and give you a link. I should have done that. Be well prepared. And people's professions can be lost just like that, from what you think and what comes out of your mouth. Truthful stuff that other people don't want to hear. Well, it sounds like YouTube, right? Somebody don't like you and they say, what you're saying is wrong. Well, prove what I said is wrong. Why is it wrong? Hey, man, I got freedom of speech. Well, you do. To a certain degree, you do on here. I do, but not to cause harm to somebody else. It's a very interesting story with this Canadian psychologist. And I think all you really need to do, although I don't have the link, is look up Canadian psychologist, under fire. You'll probably find who he is or find his show. It's very interesting to see how everything is degrading in the world, where our freedoms are being taken away. Our personal freedoms, our right to speak our mind about how we feel about something. Now, although we have freedom of speech, I will agree, I think there's limitations. Again, you can't go into an auditorium and yell fire when there's not a fire. That would be highly illegal, and you could probably hurt or kill people in the process that are going to be stampeding out of that auditorium. The same thing that applies on here on an individual level. You can't go around hurting people because you don't like them. You got to think to yourself, what did they do that fucking bad that I want to try to ruin their life or whatever, or hurt somebody physically or mentally or something? Talk to this Canadian psychologist. He'll have a mouthful to say to you. Our freedoms are being taken away, but, there are limitations. What you could say and do, unless you like being incarcerated. And that could happen real easy. If somebody found out, he's going to be facing a horrible life already. Lockup. Because he couldn't shut his fucking mouth. Now, I'm the bad guy for doing that to him? No, I'm not. He defamed my character. You don't call something like that to somebody that's not, just because you decided you didn't like that person. No, you can't do that. Oh, you could do it, but it's certainly not right. And you have to pay the price for something like that. Yes, there are lawsuits all over the world for defamation, slander, and all that shit. And for good reason. Some people are just trying to make money and it's false. And some people doing it to, regain their pride, their character, their reputation, their community, their peers, their job, their family. You can't just go around saying shit about people like that. Now, okay, we have our moments we get pissed at people. All right. We say things we don't mean. Doesn't mean we didn't say it. The act has already been committed. We said it out of anger. But the difference is whether you continue doing the same thing over and over again. People can be forgiven, but they can't be forgiven when that's all they do on a daily basis on public social media that has an international audience. And a lot of people think they can get away with that kind of shit. But they're fooling themselves. I've proved it. And I will continue to be this type of character, staunch character. Edith Beale was a staunch character. I'm a staunch character. You don't say shit about me that ain't true and not expect any repercussions or big surprises in your life. I'm a mofo when it comes to that. I will tell you that, as I just proved. Watch what you say on YouTube. I remember seeing a bread truck. Had a wonderful logo on there. Drive carefully. The bread you save may be your own. That was brilliant, I think. That was brilliant. Watch what you do. Do you value your life? Do you value your freedom? Those are decisions that you have to make. Remember, there are repercussions in life no matter what you do. When you try to screw somebody over that doesn't deserve it, that karma comes back to you sometimes in spades. Oh, wait a minute. I know. It'll never happen to you. Well, ask Mr. Barry Lee Jordan how are things going for him. He's just one example, okay? I mean, there's plenty of people that are in his position because they couldn't shut their mouth and they wanted the attention on social media, and they got their ass beat the shit out of, if not worse. Or they're 6 feet under, or they're in a fucking jail cell for the rest of their life, or a good portion of their valuable life. When they could have had freedom, but no, they wanted to be a big shot. They wanted to get attention. So they come on social media, they defame people, they threaten people. That's what they do. They all think they're above the law. But ask all those people that are in jail cells all over the world who thought they were above the law. Yeah, the 28th of the month will be fine. Excuse me, I want to grab something here real quick. It's like people who say, well, hey, I can say what I want. I have freedom of speech. Some people have named their channel Freedom of Speech 2.5 or whatever the fuck it is. No, you don't have freedom of speech. Not to the point that you think. No, I mean, I could say so many things on here with limitations, but you don't have to like anybody on here or in your personal life. That's okay. We have the freedom of making those choices, who we hang out with, who we decide to be our friends or foes. That's up to us. We have that freedom. But you don't have the freedom to come on social media. And there are laws, very stringent laws in this particular country here in the Philippines under the Republican Act that says you cannot do that. Whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, or whatever social media is out there. I don't follow all of these things. TikTok, whatever. I don't care what it is. You don't have the freedom to say these things. And I know. Nobody's going to catch me. I'm a nameless, faceless troll. Some people don't have talents out there to know how to hack. You think they don't? There's nobody out there that'll take a little money to figure out somebody's exact name and location and everything else involved with hacking their accounts and finding out exactly who they are? Well, you're fooling yourself if you think there ain't people out there. And you're fooling yourself to think that maybe I don't have access to somebody like that, or that I will have access to somebody like that. Watch what you say, as well as I'm doing. I'm watching what I say on here. That applies to me. It applies to you. It applies to everybody. I'm no exception. That's why I'm very careful these days what I say on here. I don't script anything and I don't rehearse anything. Although in the past I did a lot of scripts. But these days, strictly thinking before I say something, playing it safe, which people should do. If you have a problem with somebody in your personal life or on social media, you settle it amicably. You sit down, talk it over, or you take a baseball bat and you beat the shit out of each other's heads. You got that choice to make, but there are consequences even in that. You may not win, the other guy might win. You may wind up dead or hurt or brain dead or crippled for the rest of your life. So is it worth arguing with people on YouTube, trying to ruin somebody's reputation? I've heard a lot of people's reputations ruined on YouTube, not just people trying to destroy mine because they just decided they don't like me. Well, you don't have to like me. You don't have to love me. You don't even have to tolerate me. You can always go to another channel. We do have that freedom. Absolutely. We have that freedom. There are limitations on everything. Now, I always refer back to Barry because, well, Barry is experiencing, the repercussions of what he did. Okay? There's no feeling sorry for the guy. It's a learning lesson for him. He needed it. And those that have followed the Hunchback knows that this guy needed a lesson. Well, I gave him that lesson. But the lesson is not over yet because he has to be freshly served again with 5 counts. Problem was, and I'll tell you, not everything that's going on, but they kept on serving him at the Marlboro address. It's like the Keystone Cops, okay? That's what was going on. That's the delay. So they finally figure out that he's in a fucking detention center. Oh, they got a written order from a judge. That's not the problem. It's getting their facts together. Where is Barry? Where's Waldo? Where is Waldo? Well, I told you where Waldo was to the prosecutors, to Beverly RTC, Bureau of Immigration. I don't even know if they're sure they know where Barry is. Funny. It's crazy. Keystone Cop type situation. So they finally get it right. I think they finally got it right after all this. It's amazing, folks. It's really amazing. It's amazing. It really is. Talk about the system out here, how it works. But that doesn't work well for him because it's more delay for him. that means it's just setting him up to stay longer where he is till they decide what to do with him. And what happens is they could handle the immigration issue, but then just when he thinks he's got some freedom, they might allow him, thinking that he's going to be allowed to go back to the United States and pay his fines first. Well, then it won't happen that way, because then he's going to get hit in the face with the 5 counts. So when he gets his hopes up, bam, right in the face, either prior to anything happening with immigration or just at the point where he thinks they're going to release him on his own cognizance or whatever. It's not going to happen that way. It's just not. Even if he's paying a lawyer with his Social Security because he's not spending it on anything, he's got a lot of steps to take, a lot of flights to climb before he's ever going to see something called freedom. He decided to be an asswipe. He decided to call me a fucking child predator. Now he's paying for it. He's paying for it dearly, and it's not even just started yet. He's in there right now for immigration crimes. And he's in there because there was other evidence showing that he's an undesirable. The tapes that the videos I've turned in, the case that my lawyer put against him specifically for immigration. There were 2 cases. There was the cybercrime case, and there was the immigration case. There were 2 separate, repeat, 2 separate cases. Now, right now, he's facing the immigration charges, okay? Caused and initiated by other measures that were taken, done very meticulously by me and my lawyer, to get him where he is now, to get him in a holding pen like a chicken, to hold him somewhere, okay? And he is. Of course, with great freedoms. Open gate to his cell, he could go out and smoke in a room there, he could get laid when his girlfriend comes over on conjugal visits. He's not paying no rent. He's not paying no electricity. Some would say that he's living pretty damn good. And he's living better than he ever lived before, probably. I mean, probably did him a little favor to a point. But you see, the thing is, he can't get out of this. There's no way he's getting out of this unless somebody's being paid off. Now, I can't say that, and I won't say that that's happening. But if that was happening, that would be highly illegal. Somebody would get their ass in big-ass trouble for doing that kind of shit. He already said on a fucking video when CW gave him $50,000 and he thanked and prayed to CW, this $50,000 is going to change the prosecutor's mind about me. You all seen that. And that was video. It wasn't just verbal, okay? A real idiot. A real fucking idiot. So he has a lot to face him. So freedom of speech. We all deserve to have freedom of speech. But there has to be limitations if it's going to hurt another party, or another family, or a business, or an organization, perhaps, or an ethnic group, or whatever it might be. You don't have total freedom of speech. Not like you would hope to. Like I said, you're not going to go to a rock concert either and yell fire when there's not a fire, because you're going to kill a lot of people that believe there is a fire and they're going to find the exit. It's the same goddamn thing. You just can't do that. That's illegal. You go to jail for shit like that. You could kill somebody. Well, you can get killed also by calling somebody a child predator when they're not. You get killed very easily for that. And many people have lost their lives for defaming people. You know, I think Barry should thank his lucky fucking stars that I haven't annihilated this motherfucker. I won't go that direction. I got a loving woman and her family. I have a life out here that I intend to keep. Under any other circumstances, I couldn't trust myself. I would not be able to trust myself. If somebody, for example, had a job, destroyed my job, and my neighbors and peers, family would hear such things on social media, that your brother, sister, mother, father, whoever it might be, committed some heinous crimes, and it ruined your reputation all the way around, and you lost everything. You think you're not going to beat the living snot out of the person who said that? You think you're going to allow him to walk around on his 2 fucking legs and breathe the oxygen presented to him in our environment that falls in his lungs? Got another thing coming. Now with me, nobody gets away with that kind of shit with me, because I take it extremely serious, and I always have. You could say things in jest, and I'm not going to accept. Name calling like that is not necessary. You don't have to like me. You don't have to like anybody else on here. But watch what you say, because there are indeed repercussions. And Barry is a prime example. He's a prime example. don't think it would never happen to you. Because there's two elements involved here. Somebody saying those terrible words, and then how much conviction does a person that he harmed have in defending his own character? How far will he go? Good question to ask anyone. Everybody might have their own ideas of what they would do, not to put, anything in your head about what I'd like to do. What I'd like to do, I can't do because I have a conscience. I cannot bring myself to do that. I can only fight somebody legally, unless the wonderful opportunity came up with that individual to approach me and say it to my face on my property, lift their fist to me, and it will give me legal and poetic license to annihilate the motherfucker on the spot legally. Sometimes I welcome that opportunity with certain people. Sometimes I welcome that opportunity. It's according to who you are, what you've done, and what you've said. Don't test me. I'm not somebody to be tested as Barry Lee Jordan, the Frisbee, the hunchback, has found out. That's my show. The screen is yours for a while. Knock yourself. Well, I'll kind of wrap this thing up. Now, the reason I came on, because when I get some thoughts in my head, sometimes I see very enlightening videos of you. You think I watch all these creeps on here, but that's far from the truth. I do a lot of research on my computer about just about everything, really. It's how I learned so much about health issues and other world issues and so forth. I'm not always, very well advised about politics, because me and politics really don't go together. But YouTube has their own politics with corrupt politicians, meaning moderators, channel operators. They're their own politicians trying to write their own laws on here. But they don't realize that there comes a time when they can't do it anymore. They become found out. Where somebody approaches them in real life, it gives them the fucking lesson that they fucking deserve. And believe me, Google in something about crimes of social media. Go do it. You got the time to listen to my show. You got the time to go and look this up on Google. So you have time on your hands, obviously. Go and look up what has happened to people on social media. How many people died or committed suicide because of somebody said that ruined their whole reputation, that ruined their family life, for example, their job, their careers, everything that they built up in their life because somebody lied. And somehow, some way they got away. And let me tell you something. I got a good memory. There's other people on here that are in my sight, always. There's one character that tried things with my tenants. He still, to this day, is knocking me and doxing me on his show. Somebody that can't afford to get his cortisol levels high because he's not healthy, he's obese, carries a lot of weight, he does stupid things in his life, and will continue to do stupid things in his life. He even found out the hard way when somebody on here didn't like what he said. It went as far as renting a hotel room right next to him, came over and slapped the shit out of him. Well, I bet he didn't expect that to happen, did he? Let's just say that he got lucky. The person who did that could have done far more damage than he did, and he didn't do any damage. The guy was crying like a fucking baby. He bet $10,000 that anybody's the balls to come over and approach him. Well, this guy had the, I'm not sticking up for this guy, but he had the balls to come over there and say, hey, I don't like what you said, motherfucker. And he showed him how he fucking felt. Now, I don't recommend that. I don't condone violence. I really don't. That's a last gesture or a move or a plan for anybody, no matter what they said. There are better ways of handling things that you got to think about because there are repercussions. Again, that one word, repercussions, to every single do you do in your social media life and your own personal life. You come to this country and you start trouble. You get into physical fights with people. You come on your show and you just dox people all the time. You think because the guy's older, he can't do anything about it? You know the old saying, pen is mightier than the sword? Well, we're in high-tech times, so we can remove the pen and say the media is stronger than the sword. To a point, but sometimes you could get impaled by that sword. Think about it. Different times, pen is mightier than the sword. And basically, it's kind of antiquated, quite antiquated at this point. Well, Barry felt lucky. Where the fuck is he? That piece of shit, piece of scum. Poor excuse for a human or for any organic life on this planet. Poor excuse that has done nothing but hurt people. And now he is paying for it. And yes, I'm ecstatically happy. If you were to ask me that question, how do you feel about it? I'm telling you, I'm ecstatically happy. Because if anybody deserves it, it's certainly him. And he is paying the ultimate price with his freedom. If everything goes well as planned, he may not have freedom for a very long time. Now, considering pending health conditions that he has, he may never come out of jail alive. He may not. Because he felt he could open his fucking mouth. He felt he could open his disgusting, toothless mouth, his unwashed body on camera and say the things that he did and get away with it. He is paying the price. And I set the barcode on the price that he's paying. And I will continue to set barcodes on anybody who treads on my life, my freedom, my family, my character. You just don't know me. You think you do, but you don't. You don't. You don't know how far I will fucking go legally, of course. I told you I don't advocate violence. But if it's presented to me, fuck yeah, I'll present it back. I'll be a human fucking dynamo in his late 60s. You'd be surprised what kind of a dynamo you'd have to kill me to get me off you if you raised your fucking hand to me or mine to do any fucking harm. I will tell you that right fucking now. Heed my words. I don't bullshit. Obviously, I don't, because you got a scumbag where he belongs behind bars, although he belongs in Big Guitar. That might be his next step. Barry, I know you're listening because you paid a guard. You're a piece of shit. Now you're paying the price, contacting Gilda's kids and telling what you said to them. Calling me a sexual predator, you fucking piece of shit. Threatening my life, you fucking piece of shit. You're paying the price, clown. How do you like me so far? Fuck you. Hey, that's my show for tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. There'll be more.